Hi all! Today we're listening to a story about a boy whom everyone offended because he was weird. But at the moment, everything changed when a monster came to his defense. Let's go!
Audio Jungle.
The film begins with the boy having a nightmare that he is a cemetery where the church falls and his mother, whom he wants to save, begins to fall in there. At this point, the dream is interrupted. The next day, the guy is going to school. She cooks her breakfast, does her laundry, and cleans her room. But then he hears the call of his mother, who is very sick. He is frustrated going to school. They don't like him there. In the book, they find a note from a classmate who aggressively looked at him during the lesson. After school, the guys beat him and hope that he will not dare to tell anyone about it. When he returned home, he saw his mother who prepared a gift for him. It was his grandfather's old projector. Mom turns on a movie about King Kong. They watch it together, but the mother quickly falls asleep. The guy has already watched the movie. At night he begins to draw, but suddenly, even in headphones, he hears a voice that calls him. But I thought he just heard. And he continues to draw. But then a strong wind begins and the boy decided to look out the window. Where on the hill I saw how the tree begins to turn into something similar to a person. The monster is heading straight for his house. The monster came to the window and said that to needed Connor. The boy hides to a horror. Having gained strength, Connor decided to prove to the monster that he was not afraid of him. The monster takes the boy in his hand and said that he would come to him at night and tell stories. But the first stories will be from Connor. The guy comes to the consistence and runs into the room to his mother and offers to spend the night together. Connor wakes up in the morning and runs to the hill where the church is located, and next to it is the same tree. But the boy did not dare to go there. He returns home where he sees grandmother, whom he does not love. Grandmother tells him that he will have to live with her, but the boy does not want this. But the mother becomes ill. The grandmother runs to her aid. Today she will stay overnight in them. The boy falls asleep and then he again has this terrible dream where he saves his mother. He wakes and sees that the house is tilted. He opens the door and sees the monster again. It's time for the first story, but the boy does not want to listen to a story, because he has own problems. But T said that you need to solve problems yourself and therefore he will tell the story. Connor agrees. The tree braided the boy and tells him to start fantasizing. The boy sees a castle built on the side of his city. Here the king ruled with his wife. They fought against different beings and peoples. The king lost his sons, but his mother could not stand it and died. Only the grandson, who was the heir to the throne, remained in the king. The king again married a new queen, but then he begins to get sick. A few weeks later the king dies, and his wife begins to rule the kingdom. The king's grandson falls in love with an ordinary girl. The queen found out, and in order to stay at the throne, she decides to marry the prince, but he, having learned this, runs away with his love. They stayed near the big tree. In the morning, the prince saw that his girlfriend was dead and realized that this was the work of the queen. The people started a riot. Tease grabs the queen and decides to take her to a place where no one will find her so that she continues to live. Connor doesn't understand the tree's logic and thinks she deserves to die. But the tree did not say that it was she who killed the prince's girlfriend. It turns out that the prince himself did this so that the people would start a rebellion against the queen. The boy through this story was wrong, but T says otherwise. He says that every nation is worthy of its own government. Moreover, she did not kill the king, he himself died of old age. The prince is now king. But the boy does not understand where is good and where is evil in this story. But T says you can't just be good or bad. The next day at school, the bad guys were staring at him again. Connor returns home where he learns that his father is arriving soon. The grandmother tells her grandson to get ready and live with her while his mother continues to be treated. Mom tells her son that everything will be fine. At school the body is beating again, but at the same time he does not talk about it at home. Connor looks around his grandmother's house and son starting painting. He wanted to go into his mother's old room, but it was closed. Here comes Connor's father. Together they went for a walk where the boy for a moment forgets about his problems. At dinner they talked about the mother and her father tells his son to come to visit him, but he wants to stay there to live. But the man refuses such offers because he has another family in America. At Grandma's house, Connor gets angry and starts breaking things. Ed breaks the clock, and immediately a monster appears who wants to tell a different story. Connor agrees and begins to weave his roots around the house. A few years ago, factories spoiled the land, polluted water and air. But the end of the city lived a healer who tried it with various helps. People didn't like the healer because he was evil. There was a young priest in the city whom everyone loved. Near the church grew a large tree that could cure everyone. But with the potion, a medicine, man had to make it. The tree had to be cut down, but the priest did not allow it to be done. But the daughters of the priest became very ill. He came to the healer and said that he could cut down a tree, but the healer refuses to help the priest. The next morning the daughters died, and this punished the priest by demolishing his house. The boy does not understand why he did it, but this says that the priest was greedy and that he could refuse the faith. This suggests that the boy destroys the house together because it's cool. But when the boy regains consciousness, he realizes that he did not destroy the house of the priest, but the house of his grandmother, who had already returned home. Grandmother begins to cry when she sees the pogrom that her grandson did. In the morning, Connor saw his father preparing breakfast, and the grandmother went to the hospital to her mother. She got worse. Father and son cleaned the house together. Suddenly, they found old records from family life. The guy told his son about the reason for the divorce from his wife. He says that he loved his mother very much. They went to see their mother in the hospital, but the treatment unfortunately does not help. Mom told her son that this is the most healing plant. In the evening, the boy was looking forward to the tree. They help him heal his mother. Tis agrees to help. In the morning, the father leaves, but promises his son to take him to his place for Christmas. But he does not agree to leave his mother alone for the holiday. And he says that the new medicine will definitely help her. But my father said that it was just a dream. At night, the boy hears a voice from his grandmother's room. She looked at old family records. The next day, Connor at school again notices the look of a bully. In the dining room, he comes up to Connor and spills water on his drawing, and says that he will not be bullied, anymore because he is weak and just nobody. But then a monster appears and says that it's time for the third story. The story was the boy was tired of being invisible in the eyes of others. In fact, he was an ordinary guy and no one paid any attention to him. But one day he could not stand it and summoned a monster. The boy starts running and the bully and beating him. Connor ended up in the director's office, where he tells him to be noticeable. You don't have to beat anymore. He goes to class, but the conversations was not over. Everyone is watching him in class. But then the boy grandmother comes to pick him up and he was able to say goodbye to his mother. He enters the room and his mother asks his forgiveness, that the medicine did not help her. She knows he is mad at her and says it's okay. The boy runs up to the hill and Tess and starts blaming him. Tess says that he must save him is not his mother. And the time of the false story from Connor begins. This was his nightmare. The boy sees how the earth and the church begins to crumble. Connor noticed that his mother was falling into a cliff, but the trees to save her. But maybe the guy decided to fall into the abyss, but Tess grabs him and pulls him out. He says that he is not to blame for what is happening. The boy falls asleep under a tree. At night, his grandmother finds him and they go to the hospital. In the car, the boy asks his grandmother goodbye, and she says that he always be united by love for his mother. They manage to say goodbye to their mother. Tess appears and says that he will be able to cope with the difficulties, and Tess will be safe there. The boy hugs his mother, but she is dying. That he comes home with grandmother, where his grandmother gives him the keys to his mother's room, where he looks at her album with drawings. And he sees drawings with Tess's stories, and then he sees a painted Tess, on the shoulder of which sits a girl. The story is instructive and this film is worth watching for many. Thank you all for watching, subscribe to the channel and bye bye!